I guess I'll call to order the December 5th Library Commission meeting. If you could do the roll call, please.
Commissioner Bouchon.
Here.
Commissioner Koopman.
Here.
Commissioner Hall.
Here.
Commissioner Wall.
Here.
Commissioner Willers.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Okay. Let's see. Commissioner Willers, could I have you lead us in a salute to the flag, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have the agenda in front of us. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the order of agenda, or is there any discussion on the topic?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any blue folder items?
Yes. We have the summer reading program statistics. It's a one sheet.
Sorry. Yes, we have the summer reading program summary of activities. And we also have the December calendar of library events.
Okay. I'm clicking to try and see if I can see them. I guess I can't see them because they're not up on the website.
They're physically here. Let me
Okay.
hand them out.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we need a motion to receive and file, yes? The blue folder items.
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And that passes. Thank you so much. While we're waiting to look at the
Thank you.
graphics, is there any comment on consent calendar?
Thank you.
Otherwise, if we could get a motion and a second to,
Do we need to approve the minutes from the October meeting?
that's actually part of the consent calendar.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
But they're not listed.
Not in here, yeah.
That's what, so that was my question with, we haven't had minutes to approve from October, and I believe we haven't approved September's minutes either.
Yeah, so I guess maybe for the next commission meeting, if we could get the minutes for the previous meetings. We typically approve it unless there's been a change at the city level. So we typically review the previous meetings' notes. But given that we don't have that, which was good discussion, should we want to make a motion to receive the consent calendar as is? I guess it's just to
It's just the affidavit of
the
posting.
affidavit of posting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have no excluded consent calendar items. Do we have any remote public attendees?
I have not received any physical cards.
Okay. So there are no public comments to receive. We're on to no items continued from previous agendas. We're on to items J1, Director's Report.
Let's see, the director's report, since we did not have a November meeting, it covers October through November. We've had a lot of activity at the library, and I'm available to comment on anything on the report you might have any questions about.
Yeah.
Would you point out any highlights possibly? That would be, it was something of note.
Well, definitely. Between the time that we first met and now, I've made it my goal to get acquainted with each of the managers and also get trained on all the public service desks and physically be at each branch to get acquainted with day-to-day operations. So I think that that is certainly important. I'm going to ask Aaron if there was any programs that we wanted to highlight.
I can't think of any particular programs in November that we had to highlight, but I know our youth services librarian is going to be speaking to you shortly, so she may be able to give you a better report on that.
I was curious, this is going back to October, but just how the meeting went with the homeless housing navigator. I know that that is an area that libraries are often kind of filling. So just curious how it went and if there's ways we could support.
Certainly, and just want to say that having worked at a variety of libraries, I was really impressed with how things were working in Redondo Beach. So I made it a point to meet with the housing navigator, and she gave me a quick overview of how we assist the unhoused here in Redondo. It really, you know, the cliche is it takes a village, and it really does. The library plays a very important role, and I would certainly like to enhance that. Library staff will oftentimes identify potential clientele or people to direct to her. Lila often comes out and engages in the individuals, make sure they're aware of the resources that are available to them. And although I don't have a physical report of numbers, I know firsthand that she's assisted many people just while I'm here. And that could be, you know, food resources for the temporary housing. I know that that plays, again, an important role. Being the library is a public library, we have all members of the public are welcome. And the way the staff potentially can assist these folks and get them to the resources they need, I think is important. And quite honestly, why we have such nice facilities, nice staff, and an atmosphere of, I think, welcomeness and inclusivity. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm hoping to learn more about that. You're absolutely correct in that safety and security is a priority over the last few years when it comes to public libraries. And I'm hugely impressed with how things are operating in the city.
Great, thank you.
Did you go visit the tiny house village?
I have not.
Have you?
Yes, it's nice. It's in my district, I think.
I'm actually involved in Leadership Redondo, and we were involved with painting and providing some additional facilities there at that.
Very nice.
I would also highlight that part of me getting acquainted with the community at the bottom of the administrative report, I did meet with the president of the South Bay Literacy Council. That, I think, again, is important to build a relationship with them. As you might know, they're primarily responsible for providing tutors for individuals who are below reading level. So this isn't just that they don't know how to read, but they are functionally, as they call, functionally illiterate. So I met with them, and hopefully we can build and continue that relationship.
I do have a question about your November 21st meeting with T-Mobile. Is that going to be another layer on top of the Wi-Fi for the library, or is it a different program altogether?
I will say that I apologize for the echo. I don't know why that's happening. But no, that's a good question. And again, in my experience, some other libraries have provided the checkout of things like a hotspot or Chromebooks
Got it.
with internet access. I met with T-Mobile. They have a service that provides libraries with free devices, but the library is responsible for the subscription plan. In the county of Ventura, we lent hotspots. We also lent between 500 and 600 Chromebooks, provide internet access. I think for our community, it would be identifying if that need existed and then how to fulfill that need if it's there. And, how we, if there is a need, how we address that need, and certainly consider the budget aspect of things and the operations of things. But that was a good meeting, and that's out there and available.
Thank you.
Did you get any insight from the organizations or the libraries that have implemented that as far as damages or technology missing? That's something, of course, that comes up as an immediate concern, and we don't want to make that a showstopper, but certainly it would be interesting to know if there were any lessons learned from the people that have done it.
I think that just as the operations here at Redondo Beach Public Library, there are certain criteria in order to get a library card, such as a permanent address, proof of a current address. These types of things certainly facilitate the retention of the equipment, but you also do have to itemize the cost if the device is lost. In the case of Chromebooks, obviously it can be several hundreds of dollars. In the case of hotspots, it's been my experience that we were able to deactivate the internet access of the hotspots, and at least with our prior agreement, they would replace the device for us as part of our subscription. But it's definitely a balancing act of providing a service and also making sure that we're good custodians of the public trust and try to maintain them for other people to make use of.
How much did a subscription cost?
This is just from memory, but it's usually between $25 to $35 a month for the hotspot.
Each hotspot?
That's per month, yeah. So it can add up quickly, but I can say, again, from personal experience, those that have utilized the program have found it invaluable. It's, for me personally, it's easy for me to forget that some folks struggle for internet access. And one of the operational questions that come up is, do you simply provide a hotspot? Do you provide a Chromebook with internet access? Or do you provide a Chromebook with a hotspot so they can connect other devices to it? It's something that operationally would be open for discussion based on need.
What would be the next steps for assessing the need here for those programs?
I think, again, this probably speaks to a larger, program, but I have been seriously looking at performing an assessment. I didn't want to make any sort of announcements, but a thorough and valid assessment would mean surveying our both users and non-users, and also conducting focus groups and including our stakeholders. I've been involved in several strategic plans and plans of service where we did that, and we found an incredible useful amount of information. Sometimes folks get a little off track, and we have some information we'll share with other departments because it's not relevant. But I think that would be the most logical step, is to assess a need.
Is there something that this commission could help you achieve in this regard?
I would say to be announced. We'll look at that. I think certainly if we get to the point where we're conducting a public survey, we would certainly request assistance in highlighting that and raising awareness.
Are you familiar with the Harwood method that Redondo used for its, actually prior to COVID, to get community feedback? Is that something that you're familiar with?
Yes, definitely. We would most likely consult with Harwood and at least use some of their tools to perform an assessment. But yeah, it's a very good program. I've spoken to a lot of libraries that have taken part in it. And again, I found it extremely valuable.
And when you think about assessing, how broad a window are you looking to do? I know we were talking about hotspots, but just in general, what are your thoughts on assessing the needs?
I think a thorough assessment could take several months. And again, this is just something I'm, contemplating.
Sure.
A lot of it depends, an assessment, a lot of that depends on, current staffing levels, the time. But in my experience, you would want at least 6 months to operate the various components. I think that's probably a minimum, and then you would have some additional time to compile that assessment and present the findings.
Thank you.
I did have a question about one of the other items on your report, if you don't mind. One of the things that we as a commission often talk about is community outreach and how to make, increase awareness of programs and things like that. And I see that you've met with representatives of Orange Boy Incorporated for marketing services, performance reporting, and incident tracking software. Is that something that would help with the efforts to increase awareness? Is this like a marketing outreach company, or I'm more interested in the overall kind of steps toward maybe some additional marketing programs and stuff. And if Orange Boy is one of those, one component of that, then certainly include that as well, please.
That's very good. Specifically to Orange Boy, they offer a variety of services, but one of their services as part of engagement is their email marketing. And what makes this particular software different is that you can target separately users of a particular branch, users that might, let's say families, if you're having youth services programs. So you can get a little bit more detailed as far as targeting users for their specific needs via email. So I think it's a good service. I initiated an agreement with Orange Boy at Ventura, and we were working on utilizing that database. In the past, I've worked with Constant Contact, and I hate to keep using the word invaluable, but for those that are using email, raising awareness of our programs and services, it was extremely important. Like I said, the ability and flexibility of Orange Boy to be able to delineate specific audiences makes it unique. I would also like to just say that specifically with email marketing, we're very cognizant of individuals' privacy and their ability to opt out of any sort of email marketing. So one of the things that Orange Boy does is it gathers the email addresses from our library software, and if any time someone opts out, they're done. They can always opt back in, but they've opted out. We want to make sure we give people choice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no more questions, maybe we could get a motion to receive and file the director's report.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We're on to election of officers, J2. Any discussion? No one wants to sit in this middle chair?
Correct.
I will say that I'm going to be traveling several months over the next year.
Okay.
So I would prefer not to take an office.
Okay.
And I'm definitely not prepared at this time to take an office.
Okay.
The little list is getting shorter.
The best
I know,
chairman
I'm quite
ever.
disappointed right now.
No, I mean, so I'll just say this, this is my last year. This is my second term, and I'm terming out in September. I'm happy to continue to play the chair role. I'm also happy to have somebody else do it. So, anyone interested?
So part of me does like having you in this role. But I also think it's also important to think about succession.
I agree.
And so having you be on the commission and having someone else step up
Yeah.
would be fantastic.
Yeah. Are you volunteering?
I am not volunteering.
All right.
Those are just my comments, because I think
I
it's
agree.
easier to lead a group when the predecessor is still in the group. There's always questions and such, so I'm just trying to help.
Maybe share a little bit more about what is involved with being in the chairman role?
Just what I've been doing. You read the packet as you've been doing and just lead us through the discussion. Are you interested?
And the vice chair, just so you know, I've only filled in for Andrew, I think less than a handful of times, maybe twice. And so you do just read through the lines, except sometimes I forget to receive and file because I don't do it very often, so.
Is there a guide for how to, because you seem to have it down, but you've done it a few times.
Yeah, so we follow, it's an amended Roberts Rules of Order. It's, I forget, there's a YouTube video. Just go to California State Commission Rules of Order. I can't remember the name of it now. It's been a while since I've listened to it, but it's a short read or a short video.
Would it make sense, since you'll be here through September, would it make sense for us to all put some thought into it and maybe in our first meeting or second meeting of the new year, come back and have conversation about it?
We actually were supposed to do this 2 months ago.
Right, we were supposed to do it in September, I believe, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't have a meeting in September.
Yeah.
And I wasn't here for October, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not intended to be a higher pressure thing. So if you're not interested, I'm happy to continue. If you are interested, I'm happy.
I'm open to it. I'd also be fine if you want to stay in until September, and then I'll maybe throw my hat in then.
Why don't you do it?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Andrew just wants this chair. Because it's in alphabetical order. I like having
unless
the.
Commissioner Wallace, do you want to?
No, I'm spending a lot of time in Northern California right now with my
Okay,
parents.
so I guess maybe if someone wants to make a motion for
But wait,
Commissioner Hall to be the chair, and then we can vote for the vice chair, I guess, as well.
well, I was gonna say, why don't you then be vice chair?
I would be happy to be nominated for vice chair.
That way you can still help out, and if Commissioner Hall is unable to.
That feels like a motion, Commissioner Koopman.
I move that we nominate Commissioner Hall as chair and Commissioner Beauchamp as vice chair for the next year. Is fiscal year, I believe? Is it?
It ends in September.
September
September,
2020.
yes.
Right.
2023, yes.
I second.
All right. Commissioner, so I guess all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you
So
for not nominating me.
Do I slide out of the chair now?
I think you do.
I have to do it tonight.
Yes.
I don't get to watch the video first.
It's easy.
You can watch the video
Does
as
that change your mind?
Do you know how I get back to
Oh,
the
but now our
Our names are messed up.
That's what I'm saying. We're in alphabetical
right?
order. I now
She's
move
just-
Stay where we are.
I'll
This is
just,
for she's chairing.
okay, she's just, yeah.
Practice tonight.
Lead us.
Okay, so that will then bring us to the summer reading program update, J3.
Hello and good evening. I was here in June letting you all know about our great kickoff program that we had. So now I'm here to fill you in on all the fun stuff that we did during the summer. So as I had mentioned in June, this was an exciting year for us because we were able to bring back in-person programming, which, as we all know, due to COVID, there were so many things the kids couldn't get out and do, and we wanted them to get out and come see us, but just get out and be out in the world and enjoy the summer. So the theme for this year was Read Beyond the Beaten Path, and it lasted for 10 weeks from June 4th through August 13th. Children and teens received reading prizes for hourly reading milestones. Prizes included things like slime, kinetic sand, rubber wristbands, and even books. Each prize was paired with a food coupon from one of our sponsors, including Fresh Brothers, Lucille Smokehouse, Black Bear Diner, Rock and Brews, among others. We had a total of 1,382 participants for this year's summer reading program. Breaking that down, there was 1,170 children, 132 teens, and 80 adults. Breaking it down even further, of the 1,170 children, 956 were school-age children, which are like our 1st through 5th graders, and 214 of those were preschool and younger. We had 266 children and teen finishers. We had 291 first-time children and teen participants. And overall, we received 845 book reviews submitted by all ages from little toddlers up to adults that were participating. We had a calendar full of programs for our children and teens that included special story times featuring guest storytellers, crafts, family board game and movie nights, along with a weird science program and a ghost story campfire for teens, complete with s'mores. Over the 10-week span, we held a total of 48 youth services programs and with a total of 2,816 attendees. We actually ended up holding 2 finale parties. At the beginning of the summer, we had only had 1 scheduled, but as the summer went on, we saw that for the amount of participants we were getting, we needed to offer something else. So we had Balafo, which is a drum circle group that I believe is actually originated in Lemert Park. They came and did our drum circle at our North Branch Library on that Saturday, the 13th. And then we came over to Maine and we had a local group of gentlemen do a drum circle for us, which we had over 100 participants at that one particular event. Wow. And it was phenomenal. Like it was I'd never been to a drum circle before, so it was very cool. And all the kids of all the ages loved it. The parents even got involved. So it was definitely a fun time had by all. We held our opportunity drawing at the conclusion of summer reading. We actually gave everybody a couple weeks to turn in any lingering book reviews so they could get their last chances to get into the drawing, or just give them a chance to actually finish reading their either 30 or 40 hours so they can get all of their prizes. Our opportunity prizes included puzzles, assorted learning and creative activities. LA Kings provided us hockey pucks and autographed player photos. We also had Dodgers tickets. We had Cheesecake Factory gift cards and John's Incredible Pizza gift cards. There were 19 children that received prizes and 8 teens that received prizes. Also, with regard to our adults, because we don't want to leave them out because they do participate with us, there were the 80 total adults. They had of the drawing tickets we received, 132 came from adults. And they had a total of 9 in-person programs with 223 attendees. We want to give a very special thank you to the Friends of the Library. They are a huge and enormous help to us, and they were able to provide the funding for all of our reading prizes, craft and program supplies, and they also would supply us from their book inventory, so we were able to have enough books for every toddler, teen, and child that came through. Another special thank you to our teen volunteers. They are invaluable to us. They helped us prep every program that we did. They packed all the craft bags that we handed out, and they love to show up for a good time. And the little kids love them because it's the cool big kids, and then the teens love it because they get their hours that they have to do for school, but they also enjoy being in the library as well. So considering this is our first summer reading program, not fully out of COVID, we consider it a success. We are already looking to plan for next year. Our team has said that we'll start in January instead of February because we want our kickoff to be that much more exciting and draw that much more people in. And with the theme for next year being Find Your Voice, I have a feeling we won't have any issues coming up with programs and things that we can do for our patrons. So that is all. Thank you. Any questions?
Do you have any comparisons from prior to COVID, even qualitatively or?
I do know, I want to say for the finishers that we had, it was definitely a decrease. I don't remember the exact number, but we did see that we had less finishers this year. We attribute it to the fact that a lot of people may have not realized that we were back in the
in,
library, because
sure.
we still have people calling like, oh, are you open? And it's like, yes, we're open, come in. So we think part of that was we didn't have, because even our participation was down. I know in the past, I think participation has been a little closer to probably 2,500. So I know there were still some people that we didn't reach. And so that's why we're trying to plan earlier this time, start getting the marketing out, and that way we get everybody. And we're also considering pushing the kickoff to that first weekend of actual summer break. That could maybe draw some more people as well, because last year we started, I think the kids still had 1 or 2 weeks of school left. So it kind of, people came, but I don't think they really were as connected as they had been in previous years.
I have a question about the book reviews. 845 book reviews by people of all ages. That's quite a bit of information and quite a bit of insight as far as what the books that they read might contain or who they might appeal to. Has there been any talk around possibly using those for either to promote within the library or somehow get them in the database of, book synopsis to say, here's a standard review that you're going to get from ISBN or wherever you get the basic reviews. But then here's a review by so-and-so who's 6 years old who read it in the summer of 2022, and here's what they thought.
So whenever a teen, child, or adult filled out a book review and gave it to us, we taped it along the reference desk. So everybody could see what everybody else was reading through the summer. Unfortunately, we didn't end up keeping all of them. Some of them got a little torn up. I still do have some of them. And I did look through a few of them to kind of see for books that maybe we can bring into the library. Because not everybody they're not only reading library books. They could be reading books that maybe grandma got them for their birthday or their aunt got them for Christmas. So the other thing was looking at titles and trying to see what else we could add to the collection to get that much more excitement and more people wanting to come.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
All right, if there's no more questions, thank you very much.
Congratulations on the
Thank you.
success.
Thank you.
Great, so that will bring us to Open Plus Access at North Branch, J4.
Okay, so all of you should have received the update given the status of the project at Open Plus. Do you have any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
So I noticed that the grant that we received is about 15,000, 5,000 for the installation and 10,000 for the subscription for the first year. I think the first year is really my question because subsequent years are, at least the second year is covered by the grant. And I realize there's some question about how much exactly the door will cost. I mean, it's a big range, 10,000 to 40,000. But at the very least, our expense would be between 35 and 65,000, I think, not including what the grant covers for that first year. I don't remember when we wrote our letter to the city council supporting this.
It
Andrew,
was during budget time, yeah.
do you remember how much we said it might cost? Was it around 50?
But my understanding was it was $70,000
Okay.
Yeah, actually,
that was allocated.
I was
and,
remembering something lower, but okay.
So I believe, that will be well within budget.
Okay.
My goal is to obviously keep us well within the budget.
Okay. In that case, my question is, what steps need to take place in order to move forward on this?
Well, we received the equipment. So in my mind, there are 3 major components. And those are, we've initiated the process to work on those 3 major components. One is the surveillance system. We did receive a quote from the contractor, Vector USA. And so we're trying to time that right. Obviously, it needs to be installed before we open with it, but juggling that and the other 2 components will take some time. The second component is the access control, which is the doors. I am working with city staff to determine if the existing door would be sufficient or if we need additional doors. So we're evaluating that. The third and final component would be basically what I call the policies and procedures. So in most libraries, when someone signs up for Open Plus access, they receive a list of rules and they sign an agreement. And so there's a policy that goes with that. Now we do have, it's not ready for prime time yet, but we do have draft versions of each of those. Those would need to be reviewed by a city attorney's office potentially, and administered before we could launch the program. My hope or my goal is to work on all three concurrently so that we're not having kind of a domino effect that they're not mutually exclusive, so they can happen either in succession or all at once. And so my goal is to get working on all three components. And I should say not get working, there's been a lot of work already being done.
We know that the largest component is the door, by far.
Yes, Susan received that quote before I came on board. So, we can definitely, when I say we, I mean the city staff, evaluate those costs. I don't want to say there would be none, but there would be obviously less cost with the existing door. The existing door is electronic already. It would be, and I'm not an expert, but it would probably be some version of connecting the access control to that electronic mechanism. What the software does is when you come up to the kiosk or the door panel, there's a place for you to scan your library card, then input your PIN. It goes to our ILS software and checks to make sure that you are registered for Open Plus access. And it quickly comes back and it releases the door. The city has, for city staff, implemented some access control here at City Hall that you may be aware of. So it'd be some version of that. The biblioteca equipment is here, and I've initiated the process for our city IT department to take a look at that and hopefully meet with the vendor representatives as well as some of the other library systems that are either in the process of already implemented. If we identify a system that's using the same or similar software as we are and using the same, obviously, biblioteca access control, then that would be easier to communicate. With access control, there's the network component where it needs to ping the database, but then there's also the mechanism for it to release the door for access.
So this was super clear, with the exception of what is the next step? What is the conclusion? And you started to get to that. It sounds like you're going forward. Is there a targeted date to be complete?
Well, I only smile because the sooner the better. I hate to put a specific date on the launch because in my experience, you could always come up with some sort of outlier. My hope is that it's early next year. Okay. But again, that's a hope. Sure. I'm cautiously optimistic. We can't commit to that. We're all, I would say, other departments are juggling priorities. And, certainly this is a big priority for the library. We had to be cognizant and respectful of other departments' priorities.
Yeah, the early 2023 sounds pretty cool.
So are we moving forward on this? I'm not asking for a date, but because of the feasibility report, are we a little bit closer to it then?
Our intent is to move forward. We've received the equipment. I've been given the okay to proceed. The equipment's in my office if you'd like it. Again, I've contacted the other department heads that would be involved in the process. And I'm working with them to get, the components installed and get the policies and procedures going.
It's exciting to feel it moving towards reality. We've been talking about it for a long time.
Yes. Aren't you going to ask about what we can do to help?
Well, we're always willing to help.
No, I would expect that once we get closer, we'll all be jumping in with both feet to help communicate and get people
use it.
excited and use it. Yeah.
That means you're coming to North Branch?
Yeah.
I would say that, it's something I tend not to think about, but, hopefully if this comes to fruition, my goal is to see it to fruition, but again, having worked in libraries for many years, there's always surprises and unintended situations, so certainly that's my goal. But I would imagine that if it comes to fruition, we would probably have a soft launch where it's in operation but hasn't been promoted or advertised, so we could work out any sort of issues. But then hopefully, if given approval, have an official kind of, I don't want to say ribbon cutting, but an opening, a grand opening, which I think would be fun to plan once we get an idea of the actual date that'll be operational.
Thank you.
I'm not a party planner, but so I rely on all the assistance I can when it comes to parties.
That's super cool. Thank you.
Great. Anything else? All right. That brings us to J5, discussion on canceling the January 2023 meeting.
Yes, so we understand that the normal day that we meet is a closed day. Unfortunately, when I checked, the only date available to move to is, I think, January 26th, which puts you a week before the February meeting. And I know we love seeing each other, but maybe that wouldn't be enough to generate enough material for 2 meetings consecutively. So it is our recommendation.
I move to cancel the January meeting.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So that moves us to any member items and referrals to staff.
I have one. I'm going to give a little background just so the commission has always presented 2 letters regarding budget. One is at the end of the year for the next year, and one is about mid-year requesting any money that has been untouched by the other departments. From what we understand, that money that's untouched goes back into a pool, and we ask for that money to see if they'll give us that money mid-year. I believe it's coming up fairly soon. And now that we've definitely canceled January meeting, I think we usually write this letter around February or March, around that timeframe. I could be mistaken. I just have to go back in our notes.
That feels right.
But now that we've canceled the January meeting, I would like to work, I would like to ask that we work with you to create a new letter to see what we can get from this pool of untouched money. I hope I've explained myself correctly, but so yeah.
No, absolutely. I would probably most likely use the previous years as a template and bring it to commission for review and potentially approval. I think by February, if we don't have a draft, we would at least be able to have a discussion about it. But I completely understand the briefer turnaround time given we've already canceled 1 meeting.
Right.
I am very much aware of those letters and greatly appreciate them. Certainly appreciate the advocacy and the resources for the library community. So from what I'm hearing is that we would review previous letters from the information we have gathered. If we have an amount, I'm a little unfamiliar as far as, how we obtain that amount. My job to find out. But we would put that together and then bring it back for review and discussion.
In past letters, we've asked for money for Open Plus access. A lot of the money has gone in for digital circulation, in terms of Hoopla, all the electronic device media. And so we also historically have written the letter, but using your data points. So, and then unless you want to change things up, we don't have a problem with that, but we just historical background. And then we have a small committee who drafts the letter. And
Okay.
then now Commissioner Hall, since she's now the chair, she'll sign the letter. And then we present that to you, basically advocating for you and for the library. We've have a good track record. We've received, we tend to shoot for the moon, and we're okay with that. And we still get some money, and we've been very happy about that, because we've just added more money to this, especially the electronic media. Because we know how costly that is, and people don't understand about licensing. People don't understand that it's not just a 99-cent book on Amazon. It's, it's quite expensive. So I guess my question then is,
We did. We started it in February.
We started in
Wrapped it
February.
up in April.
okay, great, perfect. So I guess my referral to staff would be, we need, what are some areas that you would want money in, right? Seems we have the money for, and I guess we could put more money into Open Plus if we wanted to do that. But I mean, in terms of electronic media, if there's any other need, if there's actual physical books that you want to purchase, I can't think of anything else.
I'd like to make a motion based on Commissioner Koopman's great recommendation that we add to the February agenda the budget letter and ask you to review the past one and give us counsel on what the next one should look like.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will volunteer to write the letter.
Do we have any other volunteers? Do you want
Just to
other
get it out of the
volunteers?
way.
Yeah.
Just a clarification, is this to write the draft in February or write the draft after the discussion in February for the submittal in April?
Thank you for the clarification. You're right. We couldn't write the letter until we have their
Get
data
the
points.
Feedback
Yes.
from Director Benke. Yeah.
Okay, so I think I helped write it
You did.
last year. Yeah, so I would be happy to help. Again, it just has to be after February.
Yes.
That's one of the dates I will not be attending, but.
Great. Thank you. Any other referrals to staff? Do we need to ask for any additional comments or anything like that?
No, I think you asked for a motion to adjourn.
Okay. And I will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yay.
Adjourned.